Hello, my name is Hongbin. I'm recording the Vietnam Veteran Robert today. Today's date is April 13, 2018. So, were you drafted or did you enlisted?
I enlisted in the Marine Corps in 1966.
Where were you living at the time?
At the time I was living in Parma Heights, Ohio.
Why did you join?
At that time, it was either when you got out of high school, you either went into the college or you went into the draft or you enlisted. There was no what you call them, any other way to do this. So I thought at the time, excuse me, that if I'm going to enlist, because I didn't really have the grade point average to go to college back then, I should go into a branch that was going to protect me. And the Marine Corps was the right one.
Okay.
Excuse me.
What service branch did you join?
The Marine Corps.
Why did you pick the service branch you joined?
I knew that the men and women around me would protect me as much as I could protect them.
Did you record your first day in your service?
Do I remember it?
Yeah.
Oh yes, I remember that. When we got to Paris Island for boot camp, and we were on the bus, and we initially had taken a train from Cleveland, and then eventually a bus took us into Paris Island in South Carolina. And we were on the bus, and I remember the drill instructor coming onto that bus and told us, "You have 3 seconds to get off this bus," and 2 of them were gone. And I was in the back of that bus, and I was one of the first ones off the bus. So.
That's fast.
Yeah, it was my first day, and it was hell from then on. So.
How was the atmosphere in the military camp, at the boot camp?
At boot camp was really strict. It's a little different today where you have little groups and they ask you how you feel and, and if you have any complaints. Back in my boot camp, we didn't have any of that. We were just told, you will do this and you will do it now. And if you didn't, it was push-ups, sit-ups, so you got, disciplined by the DIs. It was really strict, really hard, real harsh. And it was 8 weeks of boot camp back then. So.
Do you remember your instructors?
Yeah, I had my leading DI was Staff Sergeant Wheat, and then I had 2 assistant DIs, Staff Sergeant Purcell and Staff Sergeant Levesque. And I have pictures of them if you want to see that.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, let me get that out.
Okay.
I had to bring this big suitcase because I couldn't get everything in the other one.
It's nice keeping all this memory of the things.
Yeah, that's huge. This is my Marine Corps recruit book right here. It's pretty old. Let's see. That's nothing. Okay. See, it's falling apart.
That's history.
And you're welcome to look at any of this book. I have pictures of me in it too.
Yeah, sure. I will take a few pictures of your items if you willing to.
particular book. This book, I have 2 books, and this book doesn't seem to have the pictures on it. Should have brought the other one. Here they are. Okay. This was my senior DI, Staff Sergeant Weed. This is my assistant DI, Purcell, assistant DI, Lebec. Those were my 3 DIs.
Do you mind if I take a picture?
Oh, go ahead, sure.
Okay.
Would you like to take a picture of the cover first and then that?
Sure.
I mean, it might work out better for you. Yep.
And, picture.
Let's find these again.
It's like a military version of a yearbook.
Yes, exactly.
Yep. All right.
Okay. And then that's me right there. Okay. Do you want any other pictures out of here? I mean, you're doing this, so I don't know what you need.
Yeah, sure. We can do it now or at the end of the interview.
Okay, we can do it then.
Okay. Alright. I knew that you served in the Vietnam War, but where actually did you go? Like, which part of the Vietnam?
I was 20 miles north of Da Nang Air Base, at a place called Camp Love. There was a mountain there. On one side of the mountain was the Ho Chi Minh Trail, and of course on our side was the Marines. And we were stationed right next to the 26th Marines. They were grunts. And I was in 1st Bridge Company. I built bridges and carried a machine gun. So that was my duties over there.
Was that the sort of like a borderline between two forces? Is that like a front line?
Front line, right.
Okay.
That would be front line. The further up north we went, obviously the more dangerous it got.
Right.
That mountain I told you about had the 47th Zapper unit in it, and they were like Special Forces, Viet Cong, and NVA, North Vietnamese Army. And they were equivalent to Green Berets. That's how well trained they were. So when you got around that mountain and went up north through the narrow passages on the road to build bridges, you encountered them. It got nasty.
Had you encountered them, or you're
Encountered them a few times. When where the French lost the war in the valley, that's right where that valley was.
Okay.
And we had 2 bridges we used to have to put in there all the time because they used to just blow them up, so we'd have to come up there. And we got pinned down there a few times with the fire and the mortars and everything, and it got really intense. Lost a lot of men. My bridging unit got wiped out one time, so it got pretty bad.
Have you traveled to Vietnam before the war, or have any knowing about Vietnam?
No, I knew nothing about Vietnam. All I knew was a war going on there. I haven't been back since. I want to go back. I want to see my areas I was in and see how things look today. So that's something in the future for me.
Do you remember arriving to the Vietnam the first day? How it felt like?
Yes, I remember that. We flew into Da Nang Air Base, and when they put the back of our C-130 plane down, it has a big opening. This humid, stinky, rotten air came in from the swamps and that around the bases, and just the general smell of the place. And we got on a Jeep. There was 3 of us. Got on this Jeep to First Bridge Company, and they took us to 20 miles north to Camp Love. And I remember walking into my strongback hooch, they called them, which was it was like a little house, but instead of sides it had screening, and then it had a metal roof. And if it rained, you put tarps down around the outside to keep the rain out. And I remember walking in there, and I thought, I was so scared. I knew I was in a really bad area. And I remember I was only there maybe an hour, and my corporal came walking in. And he says, "You're the new guy, aren't you?" And I said, "Yes, I am, Corporal." And he says, "You will listen to me, and you will do what I tell you to do, or you'll die over here." And he became my best friend, very best friend.
Did you see combat?
A lot of combat.
Were there many casualties in your unit?
Yes, a lot. Our bridge company got wiped out one time. We were getting people wounded a lot, and obviously killed. So there was a lot of combat going on.
Do you mind sharing about a couple of your most memorable experience?
Memorable how? Combat, you mean? Or do you mean?
Just in the war in general.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, one of them, we went to China Beach. It was a Sunday. And it was like miles away from us, but the captain gave us a day off. And we all went to China Beach to go swimming and just take it easy. Mm-hmm. And that was one of my favorite times over there.
Yeah, some relief time in the war.
Oh, very much so.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was, and it was needed. We used to do a lot of joking around, because we get back to our camps and just to relieve ourselves, we beat each other with rolled up newspapers, or go to the club that we had there and sit there and drink 3.2 beer and just take it easy. And every now and then they'd have a USO band come through, or entertainment. We had that. They had Bob Hope come through one time. We went to that. He had Ann Margaret with him. I know you don't know any of these people because you're young, but they were big back then. Other than that, that was our entertainment.
That's nice. Were you awarded any medals or citations?
Yeah, I have. I have a Bronze Star. I have some Vietnam War medal. A couple things. When I was getting my VA allotment, when I was awarded it, I had to talk to a judge in Washington through a video conference. And the first thing he said is that he was talking to a highly decorated combat Marine. And it made me feel good. So, yeah, I have some medals like that.
How did you stay in touch with your family while you in the war?
Well, back then we didn't have iPads and iPhones and things, so it was just you mailed things back. And my parents, for some reason, were always moving. So I would send them a letter, and it would come back to me a week later that they weren't there. And then about a week later, I get another letter from them saying, "Oh, we moved to so-and-so." So I'd write to them. But, yeah, it was all by the mail system. And you know, it would take a long time for the letter to get back to the States and them to get back to Vietnam to me. So when we got the mail, we were excited about getting our mail.
I can imagine that.
Yeah, my parents one time, my mother decided to send me candy and cookies and stuff. And by the time it got to us, where I was, it had all melted. It was like this gooey slop. So all of us guys sat around with our spoons eating this stuff, you know, and they were happy getting it. And then my parents sent me a Christmas tree, a little 3-foot Christmas tree. It was the only one we had in the whole camp. And everybody would gather around that Christmas tree and, you know, and just reminisce about Christmases and that. It was nice. It was nice.
How was the food like in the military camp?
You know, when we went to what we called the mess hall, which was like a place to eat, the food was always really good. It was normally cooked by the Navy. When in Vietnam, Marines cooked it. But I mean, it was always really good, nutritious food. And what you put on your tray, you had to eat. So if you didn't like it and you picked it, you ate it. That's what they expected.
Yeah, eat what you pick.
Yeah, it was good food though.
Did you feel stress, pressure or stress?
In Vietnam?
Yeah.
Continuously. It was always like that. You didn't know if you were going to get up at 1 in the morning and go out and build a bridge, you know, or get it ready, because really you couldn't go out at night because all the roads around us had been mined by the VC and that. So in the morning they had to send out minesweepers. You know, these guys had little like wands and they'd go across the roads with them and find the mines and take out mines and booby traps, and then we could go.
Was there something special that you did for good luck before you went to the war?
For good luck?
Yeah, like just praising the God or some sort.
Well, yeah, I did some praying, and I did a lot of crying before I went to boot camp. Actually, when it was time for me to go to Camp Pendleton in California for our combat training before Vietnam, I actually started walking towards the plane. Back then, you didn't have like tunnels to go into the plane, you know, or they didn't have that. So you walked right on the tarmac and then right up to the plane. And I got halfway, I started turning around, I was going to go home. I decided I'm not going to go to Vietnam. And I turned back around, I got back on that plane, and that was when I went to Vietnam.
How did you make your decision for deciding whether not going back to home then head for the plane?
Wow, that's a tough question. I was scared, and you know, there's always a chance you're going to get on that plane and go to Vietnam and not come back. And I thought, I really thought I'd rather be dead than put my parents through being embarrassed over me. So I got on that plane, I went to Camp Pendleton, and then we flew to Vietnam.
Thanks for sharing.
Back in back in high school, I always considered myself a tough guy. A lot of fist fights, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I always tell everyone, and I'm not shy about it, that if it wasn't for going in the Marine Corps, I might have gone to jail. I realized when I went to the Marine Corps that I wasn't a tough guy at all. You know, I was just a jerk. You know, they straightened me out, and a lot of my decisions today, and I'm 71 years old, I make because I was a Marine. So it instilled a lot into me.
What did you think of officers and or fellow soldiers?
Wow, that is a loaded question. For the most part, we had good officers. We did have a few that were less than desirable to be around, because even though they could give us orders, they wouldn't follow us into combat. They wouldn't do anything. The people around me, the regular Marines, they would follow you into hell. That's the way we were.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if we were told to charge the hill, we charged the hill. If we were told, you know, go build that bridge right now, we built the bridge. If we were told to go on search and destroy missions, that's what we did. And the group of men around me were exceptional, absolutely exceptional. During that time, you had the civil rights movement going. In 1964, you had the civil rights, and of course I'm in Vietnam in '67, and so you still had a little of that white versus black mentality. And I really pride myself. I always got along with everybody. I never had a problem with blacks or minorities or anything. Some of the fellas did, especially from down south. They had a lot of problems with it.
Yeah.
But luckily, I didn't have that. And all I know is everybody around me was good and brave and just good combat people. That's what you want. And that's really why I went in. I wanted somebody that I knew would protect me as much as I put out to protect them and get home. I just wanted to get home. So, yeah.
Do you always get good supplies for your bridge building, or do you have to improvise sometimes?
No, we had a bridging lot, and all our bridging and all our trailers were stored on that lot. And then we also had a maintenance area where they took the trucks to fix them, repair them and stuff. And if we needed, like if we had a truck blowing up or a crane blowing up or something, they always got us a new one. So our that type of thing was never a problem, never.
What was the emotional feeling when you heard the war was end?
When it ended?
Yeah.
Wow. I was glad the war ended. I wasn't glad how they ended it. The battles in Vietnam, there wasn't a battle lost by any of our United States forces, whether it was Air Force, Marines, Army, Navy. We never lost a battle in Vietnam, even during Tet. Where we lost the battle was here in the United States with the protesters and the communists infiltrating and getting people psyched up to stop the war. The Tet offense which I was in, changed the emotions of the war at that time. A lot of pictures broadcast, video back to the States of that. And that got the anti-war movement really moving. And that's what actually stopped the war, was the people here protesting.
Yeah, sending pictures of the war.
Yes, yeah. And a lot of the military were not happy with that. You know, so on one hand, I absolutely happy that the war ended.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you got 58,421 people on a wall dead, our memorial, you're happy that there's no more dead people. The problem is today that a lot of these vets like me,
Mm-hmm.
we're suffering from it, from that war. I got sprayed with Agent Orange, so I got diabetes. I've got post-traumatic stress disorder. I'm 100% disabled, 100% unemployable, which is okay. I'm 71 now. That's not a problem. But the war did that to so many men and women. And even today in Iraq and in Afghanistan, these men and women that are serving that nobody seems to care about are coming down with all kind of chemical problems because they're breathing in all these chemicals and burn piles and smoke and crap, and they're fighting to get their benefits, those people. You know, I mean, it took so many years for Vietnam people to get their benefits. It took years for Koreans to get theirs, and so many years for World War II. And I don't think our government treats the veterans very well. So.
Do you agree with the statement that that the nation that the military is at war, but the nation is not, compared to now and back then?
Well, I think. Could you repeat that again? How'd you say that?
The military is at war, but the nation is not.
Okay, let's answer that part first. Yeah, I kind of do agree with that. You know, politics are politics, and if it wasn't for our military where they are today, it's because of them that we sleep well at night. And people don't understand that. They don't care. You know, I mean, you got people in Afghanistan, Iraq, that are fighting against ISIS today,
Mm-hmm.
and Assad and everybody else, and it's like people don't seem to care about them. They don't seem to understand that, hey, you don't just send these people over here. Oh, we got to fight and come back in a year. You know, a lot of these men and women are going for 3, 4, 5 tours over there and fighting, and it just doesn't seem that America cares here in the States. You know,
Mm-hmm.
if you ask military people, they care, like me, but yeah, I guess that's the answer for that.
What did you do in the days and weeks after the war is ended?
What did I do?
Yeah.
Well, I got back from Vietnam, And my dad had a job for me right away. I went into apprenticeship to be a machinist. And I stayed in that from 68 to 1970. And then I got a job at the phone company. And I worked for them for 35 and a half years. So I retired from them in 2005. And then after that, I had my own business until 2009. I went into security. And then after security, I drove a semi-truck for a couple of years. And now I'm retired.
Mm-hmm. All right. Did you make any close friendships while in service?
Yeah, I did. I had a group of guys around me, and I don't keep in touch with them. And the reason I don't keep in touch with them is because I want to remember them as when we were together. You know, I don't really want to know how their lives are going today. You know, I hope every one of them did well in life. But I really, sometimes I think I should search for them on Facebook or something and, you know, just put out that I'd like to talk to them.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't do that. And,
It's good to keep memory at its best.
yeah, I believe so.
Mm-hmm. Did your military experience influence your thinking about war or about the military?
Yeah, it did. I'm a big military man. That's the way I am. I wasn't when I went in. But as the years went by, I just love all the people in the military. They're out there trying to do their jobs, difficult jobs. And I don't care if you're just pushing a pen or something in an office, or you're out there running around the hills shooting people. They're all doing their jobs. And I'm a big military guy.
How did your service and experience affect your life?
Oh, greatly. There's times in my life that I didn't have enough money to go downtown on the Rapid. And I always thought, you know, Bob, you were a Marine. You can figure this one out. And I did, and I got through it. You know, the military made me what I am today. You know, made me the man I am today. Like I said, you know, everything about the military from when I was in made me what I am. So it did influence me a lot.
Is there anything you would like to add that we haven't covered in the interview?
I don't think so. It was nice of you to interview me for this. You know, you're a young man. You know, I'm glad you came to our country. I'm glad you're a citizen here. I'm glad your parents are here. And, you know, I hope they're all doing well.
Yep. They're
and just remember, there's people like there's people out there that care about you. That's it.
Right. Yeah, I kind of like you. I always appreciate military for their service, but some people kind of just don't understand.
No, they don't. And you know, that's what's great about our country too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can have your opinion, you know, and like I said, the military people are out there fighting, so you have that right to disagree.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to keep our Constitution what it is. And that's what's great about America. You know, we can all agree to disagree on things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we can come together on certain things and we can protest on other things and we can just disagree. And that's what makes America so great. We have so many different ethnic people in this country. And yet, if you really look at it, I mean, you look at the papers and the news, and to me it's all biased. You know, 99.9% of Americans all get along. You know, we all want to have a great country. We want to have our country great for the future. You know, I got grandkids, and I want them to grow up in a beautiful country like this. And I think that's what the military does for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the military is just taken for granted too much. Like I said, it's a great country. And, you know, people say, well, if it was a war today, would you pick up a rifle and go to war at your age? In a heartbeat for me. Because this is my country.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it.
Do you feel like the military is taking some sort of too many blames for consequences of the war?
They're taking a lot of blame, but on the other hand, we have a lot of military leaders that can't make the right decisions because of politics. And I think that's the problem. Today, if you watch some of these Senate things and these House things, and they have the military in there, and they start questioning some of these colonels and generals and stuff, and you can just see that the colonels and all these military officers obviously can't say what they feel. They can only say what is politically correct. Mm-hmm. And yet they're great generals, they're great colonels, they're great officers of every branch. And I just think that when they're being questioned like that, I think they shouldn't be questioned. I think a military person that's up there being questioned should just be able to say how he feels. You know, if the question's screwed up, the military person should say, you know, that's a dumb question. I don't even know why you're asking me that, but they can't. It's all politics today. Yeah. But like I said, our military is great, and hopefully it'll continue to be that way.
All right. That's all the questions I have for the interview.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
well,
thank
you.
Thank you for
so
your time.
much.
Yeah.
You want to see any of my pictures?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. My wife got 2 of my pictures blown up.
Yeah.
You want to see any of my pictures?
Yeah, sure.